Thank you and welcome. My special guest is quite simply special. He's the greatest spin bowler of them all. Some will go further and declare him the greatest cricketer to have played the game. And that assessment would accommodate his gift as an entertainer as much as his skill as a bowler. What we saw in the manner of his farewell at Melbourne and Sydney, in the relationship with his audience, was as much to do with joy given as wickets taken. From the moment he bemused Mike Gattin 14 years ago, he dominated the game with his mesmeric talent as a cricketer, his almost barbaric competitive streak, and his priceless ability to attract people to the game who normally wouldn't bother. He's box office, the undisputed superstar of his sport. He's also a controversial figure, beloved by the tabloids who chronicle his peccadillos, bringing joy to the critics and despair to his friends. However, since his retirement, even his critics have been forced to concede they're going to miss him. And so will we all, and for a long time, because if we see his like again, we'll be very lucky. Fact is, he's unique, he's irreplaceable. Ladies and gentlemen, Shane Warne. The hot seat.
The hot seat's right here, mate.
You can safely assume you're among friends, I think. Isn't that? Yeah. I mean, that's a reminder, you know, of the kind of scenes we saw at the SCG and the MCG, and the way you played the game as well, the way you bowled at Adelaide, the way you bowled at Melbourne, the way you batted at Sydney.
Thank you.
I mean, we'd find it incomprehensible that you should actually be even thinking about leaving the sport when there's so much more there for us to enjoy.
Oh, first of all, thanks for having me, Michael. I think all the cricket side of things, a lot of people said when you get to an age, you'll know when it's time to retire, and I didn't really get that. And a lot of people that have retired or haven't had the opportunity to retire, but they all said you'll still know when it's the right time. And I never got that, as I've said publicly before, but I did, and I just knew it was my time. And I think since I've announced I've retired, I've just gone out and had fun. And I think that's shown.
Did you feel a great release, did you?
Yeah, I did. I just felt excited. You know, I just felt happy. And a lot of people said it's the end. To me, it's not the end. To me, it's the beginning of something else.
But who were you listening to when you decided to make that decision? Your mind or your body?
My body's been telling me it's time to go for a while. But I've managed. I think that's one of the things I'm proud of, is to get through. There hasn't been too many games in the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. I've had, I think, 5 or 6 pretty major operations on my shoulder. I've dislocated my shoulder, my spinning finger that's sort of still crooked, my knees, those types of things. So to keep coming back from those takes its toll. The physiotherapy, the mental side to overcome that, when you can't actually spin a ball and you actually got to work through the process of getting your action right and things like that. That takes a lot of work, and just the expectations that you're going to be okay and come out and spin it all the time and knock people over. So that takes its toll on for a while. And as I said before, I knew it was time. I feel great that I've retired, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds.
When you talk about the future, there's all kinds of speculation, of course, so let's get up to date with it. One is you're going to coach England. Would that be true?
Yeah,
what are you laughing
at? I've heard that as well. I think at the moment for me, it's just, let's just go away with a holiday with my children, weigh up what the future holds, look at what's come in and say, with my people, and say, okay, what have we got on offer? What do I want to do? And work all that out. At the moment, I just want to be a dad with my kids and go and have a swim with those guys and just sit around and do nothing for a few weeks.
But you wouldn't rule it out?
I wouldn't rule anything out. I'm open to any suggestion, anything. As I said, I'll weigh it all up. I'll look at what's on offer. I'll work out what I actually want to do. I'd like to think that I'm in a position where hopefully there's some things on offer that, whether it be business or still related to cricket, which I love, or something else from left field that I haven't even thought of. Yeah. Whether it be radio, TV, commentary, all those different types of things.
I think TV's a given. I mean,
well, I don't know, but is that what I want to do? I'm not sure. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to work that out and really try and think about it and say, well, what do I actually want to do? And can I do that? So that's exciting.
Then there's all the speculation, too, about you and Simone. Pictures of you and Jamie Packer's yacht there, having breakfast. Tell me, does she like spaghetti rings as much as you do for breakfast?
Well, she didn't want me to have baked beans in the morning. That might have been a long boat trip. But look, Simone and I, we've been obviously through a lot Majority of it being my fault. But we're still friends. We still live together. We've got 3 children together. It's very strange that you're divorced and all the paperwork's gone through. It's official.
Odd. I mean,
and we still sort of live together.
Why get divorced in the first place?
We had to, I think, because I think we had to realise did we both want each other? Did we both want to get back with each other? What do we actually want? At that stage, some of the things that I've done, the mistakes I've made, which I'm not proud of, but you know, look, it shows I'm human and I make mistakes, and I'll probably make some more in the future as well. But that's happened. There's no use regretting what's happened. There's no use. You can't change it. So you just got to live with it and try and deal with it. And we have to work out whether we can forgive, forget, whether we do want to move on together, all those different types of things. But at the moment, we wake up and our children are still there. We're very lucky that we've got 3 beautiful children. We're still very good friends, and we've been through a lot together. She's supported me through 15 or 16 years of international cricket.
And a lot more besides.
Yeah, and all that, but everything, the whole package.
Sure.
And you know, when I've come home and been smashed around on the park, and I'd curse and swear and all those sorts of things, should be there and say, look, it's a silly game, don't worry about it. But again, we'll talk about something else.
But again, I mean, is there a possibility you might get together again? You might remarry?
Oh, not sure. I honestly don't know.
So you don't rule it out?
I haven't ruled out getting back together, but we both have to work out if that's what we want. Sure. I don't think we want to get back for the wrong reasons. As I said, we've got 3 beautiful children together, but we've got to get back because we both want to. And that, I suppose, only time can tell. And we'll see. Let's
look back on this career of yours now, because did you want to be famous when you were a young kid?
I never thought about being famous, no. It was good fun for about 10 days or maybe a couple of months, but it sort of wore off pretty quick.
What sort of a background was it you came from? I mean, sort of loving family background. It seems to be reading the research on you.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I've had my mum and dad have been together for a long time. I had a brother, my brother Jason, and I think a lot of my competitive juices, which I'm very, very competitive, as I'm sure you're well aware, Michael, but I mean, my brother and I were playing football in the backyard. That's Australian rules football, or cricket. It got to the stage where he shot a spear gun at me.
Why?
Well, he thought he was out. I thought he was out. He didn't, and so, as usual, the umpire went with him. So we had plenty of. I mean, there was times when he got bigger and stronger. Because he's younger than I am. When I used to belt him up most of the times when we had our wrestles, as you do as brothers, and I used to win. And then when he got older and got a bit stronger and bigger and was playing Australian rules football, he got quite big, and we used to muck around. And one day I remember him having his knees pinned my arms down like that, and he sort of sat above me like this. And I said, "You haven't got it. Come on, mate. You haven't got it." And suddenly went whack, hit me straight on the nose. And look, we get along fine. No, look, we love each other. He's been fantastic.
For a while,
yeah, he was, and he's been a wonderful support. It hasn't been easy for him too. He was a sportsman as well, so I suppose to see your brother reach heights that I've reached, it's not very easy for him. So it's been tough for him, and one of the reasons he was my manager for a while and did an excellent job, but one of the reasons he sort of got away from that is that we want to be brothers, and there's a lot of business stuff that goes on that I mightn't agree with him and he mightn't agree with me, and he mightn't quite know exactly, but together we generally work it out. But it was time for us to be brothers, and I knew the end wasn't that far away, so it was time for us to be brothers and not spoil that friendship.
It's also too, I mean, apart from the being hit with a spear gun and that sort of thing, that beaten up by a brother, you had a kind of accident-prone childhood too, didn't you? Tell us a story about the boomerang. I love this story.
I've still got the scar just here.
This is a metaphor for your life, this is. Go on, tell us the story.
Well, I had a boomerang, and I'd heard about, I'm not sure how old I was, but I didn't know exactly how it worked, so I thought I'd mess around with it and see how it goes, and sort of threw the boomerang and didn't quite get it right. And then once I got it right and sort of just kept going around, I thought, oh, that's pretty good. And suddenly it started coming towards me. I thought, geez, I better try and catch that. And next minute it went bang and it just hit me straight in the forehead and had a few stitches there. So, yeah, it was actually quite fun trying to work. At least I worked out how it did it, but it actually hurt me to start with.
And you broke both legs too when you were 8 years of age.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I was coming out one of those, those concrete sort of cylinders at school that you have and you walk out, and I was sort of bending down, walking out, and someone jumped on my back. And it pushed me down and my legs broke. And I can sort of vaguely remember it, but my mum and dad have pictures of it and sort of spoken to them about it, and they said I broke them pretty badly. And the doctor did what he did, and I had from plaster from the neck down with a couple of holes in it. And
At least.
Yes, and I sort of got round on this trolley and I had to get round for 12 months.
You know, this sort of manufactured trolley going around on your hands.
On my hands.
How long do you do that for?
Pretty close to 12 months.
Good God.
So I think one leg came off first. Not my leg, but the plaster came off my leg first, and then the next one. So I had it in one leg for a bit longer, but that was worsely.
You've been rather powerfully developed round here, I should imagine. When you...
Well, I think that might be one of the reasons I got strong wrists. It might have actually helped me. I don't know, but it's one of the reasons I couldn't run too well. I had to become a slip fieldsman. But yeah, look, I sort of vaguely remember it. I don't remember a lot about it, but I remember getting around on that trolley.
What actually, I mean, there you were growing up as a kid in the backyard playing cricket, dreaming about being a cricketer and an Aussie rules footballer too. That was your predominant thing, wasn't it? We'll talk about that in a minute. But I mean, in those days, I mean, the great heroes of Australian cricket were fast bowlers. Yep. What made you want to be a slow bowler? I mean, what kind of ambition was that? Yeah,
my brother and I, as I said before, we used to pick our teams, and we had to try and be them, whether it was Alan Border. You know, we'd bat left-handed, we'd have to bat left-handed, and we had to have the tap, and then duck, and then the pull shots. So we had to be those people. Whether it was Abdul Qadir, we had to try and bowl like him, or Tomo, we had the big slingshot action, or Dennis Lilly, we had the flick of the sweat off the brow. And we had all those types of things. So, you know, there was no one that really I said, I want to be like him. And cricket to me, as you said, was never really my thing. I really only played in the summer.
I find it amazing that, you know, the sort of fine, incredible player that you are, that wasn't your ambition.
Well, I reckon it helped me.
Why?
Well, the reason I reckon is that I never sat there every day thinking, I'm going to do this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. And suddenly my dreams were built up so much that, you know, I didn't reach them. I never had that feelings with cricket. And with football, Australian rules football, I wanted to play Aussie rules football. I loved it. And I suppose being a Victorian, it's all about Australian rules football. We don't know much else besides football and cricket in the summer. But I wasn't good enough. I went down to St Kilda Football Club. I played a couple of years of under-19s. I played in reserves. I never made the seniors. I trained with them for a few months, but I never made it. It wasn't good enough. So once that happened, and all during that period, I'd actually just played cricket in the summer because most of my buddies did. And I was a batsman, and the bowling didn't really interest me because I was getting whacked around. I tried a bit of seam and spin and all those sorts of things, and I wasn't really any good. And it's quite tough being a spinner when you're no good. And it's quite embarrassing as a youngster. When you bowl double bounces or the ball goes over the fence and they can't find it, said, "Oh, we need a new ball. Can someone get us another ball? We've lost that one." So that can be quite embarrassing. So that's why it was quite difficult. But
you had a natural talent. I mean, that must have been it.
I could always spin the ball, but the accuracy and things that came a bit later. But we grew up on matting, so there was the concrete and then the mats on top, and you peg the mats in, and that always used to bounce a lot. Right, so if you were a leg spinner, then you could actually see it was exaggerated how far the ball could spin and bounce and all those types of things. And as I sort of went through the stages in Victorian state squads and playing at St Kilda Cricket Club, I had the opportunity to speak to a few different people. And once they saw that I had a bit of talent, I could spin the ball. I got St Kilda Football Club said, "See you later, you're no good." I then said, "Well, what else am I going to do? I haven't got any qualifications. I'm no good at anything else. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, Michael." And
well, I was going to ask you about that. You see all this catalogue of sport being played. What happened to your education at this time?
I managed to keep passing. I think they wanted me to stay there to play sport.
Is it true? I mean, you've got a sports scholarship to a good school. Is it true that you used to fall asleep in the lessons and they let you do that?
The lessons I went to, yes.
The lessons you went to. And you used to get beaten by the headmaster for misbehaving at times?
Yeah. Well, I didn't get beaten. I used to get punishment with the cane.
The cane?
Yeah, and it went something like this. This was the routine. There was once I'd be misbehaving or whatever, just couldn't be bothered concentrating, didn't understand it, so I thought I'd be a fool. And generally would take a few people with me, so they thought it was easier just to get rid of me. So, rightio, Warne, go down and see the principal, Mr. Jones, go and see him, rightio. So I'd walk out and I'd take my time getting down there. And I'd eventually get on there, I'd knock on the door, see the secretary, "Yeah, I'm here to see Mr. Jones." "What for this time, Shane?" I don't know." "Okay, go in and see Mr. Jones." So I go in there and he used to say, "Well, hello, Shane, how are you?" I said, "Yeah, it's good, thank you." He said, "What are you here for this time?" And I'd say, "Oh, I don't know, I was misbehaving." "Rightio, I'm going to practice my golf swing on you, Warne."
Oh, God.
"Rightio." He said, "You know the routine, bend over, lift your blazer up." So I'd like that, lift the blazer up, and you just hear this, just practicing, and then he'd just sort of 6 to the best each time. And I don't know, I must have enjoyed it because I kept going back there all the time. So. But I did. I actually went there all the time, and geez, we tried like the 5 or 6 undies trick and all that. Still didn't work. No, still didn't work.
Book.
Yeah, no, tried all that.
No good at all.
No.
Did you, when you think back on that, do you resent him now? Do you?
No, not at all.
No, you don't.
No, well, I suppose it's one thing that I, as captain of Hampshire, that I quite enjoy. At school, I didn't like being told what to do, although you have to, at certain times. But being captain of a cricket side, I don't like telling the team what they have to do. It's up to them to be the best player they can and take their opportunity. If they don't want to do that, someone else will come in. So in the cricket side, I didn't like being, right, you've got to be here at 8 o'clock, you have to go to the gym, you have to go to the pool, you have to do training, you have to be this team meeting. I really didn't like that because I thought if I want to be the best cricketer I possibly can, I want to do that, I will be the best cricketer I can. I don't need you to tell me what I have to do.
It's a team game.
It is, and as a group of guys together as a team, you can achieve some special things. Yes. But in a team in sport, as individuals, you have to be the best you can, and no one can help you with that by yourself.
Was that why you had a rough time to start with at the academy? You went to the cricket academy.
Yep.
And you had a fairly unhappy time there.
I don't know if I had an unhappy time. I don't think they enjoyed my company.
Well, that's true. I mean, Terry Jenner said you're a pain in the arse, actually. But I mean,
well, I probably was.
No, he didn't say that, actually. What he said was you weren't serious. He said you weren't serious. That was the problem.
True.
You had all the talent in the world.
I probably wasn't ready.
Well, this is about my question. I mean, why was that? And when did you get serious? Was there a moment in time when somebody said something to you or did something where you thought, I've got to get serious about this?
Yeah, it's probably that time. I think that was probably spot on. The cricket academy, when I was there, went through a completely different change. There was 2 coaches there at the start, Jack Potter and Peter Spence, who had been there from ball 1 of the cricket academy. Then there was all sorts of turmoil going on in our year, and they were fighting, so they left. And we had 2 new people come in, one called Andrew Sincock and one called Barry Corsby. Now, Barry Corsby, I don't know how many games he played for South Australia, but was a bank clerk. And he was coming that we have to be at a pool at 5 o'clock and then we've got to be at the nest. I said, hang on, mate, who are you to try and tell us what we're meant to do? You haven't played cricket for a long time. Andrew Sincock was too busy blow-drying his hair about what he wanted to do. And we didn't know these people, and suddenly they're out of the blue, they're telling us exactly what we have to do. But as young kids, we were there to learn, so we tried to listen. But for me, I found it difficult to listen to this guy who I didn't think made sense. And I wasn't the only one. I just expressed the opinion. The rest just towed the line. And I would challenge him. If I thought, he said, this is the way we're going to do this, I'd say, well, why should we do it that way? Shouldn't we do it? Isn't there a better way to do something? So I don't think they liked being challenged. We were 17, 18-year-old kids trying to learn the craft. And the time at the academy, they went on tour and they told me I was a liability to go on tour. And I said, well, I come over here and improve my cricket. If you think I'm a liability on tour, what am I going to do here by myself? They said, you can go to the pool at 5 a.m. in the morning every morning. And I was honest. I just said, well, I've got no chance of doing that. If you want me to stay here by myself at the cricket academy till we improve, there is absolutely no chance I'm going to get up at 4:30 a.m. in the morning and drive to a swimming pool at 5. So I'd be better off going back to Victoria, where I was in the state squad for a couple of seasons, and try and play for Victoria. Yeah. And I wrote a letter to Brendan Flynn, who was the boss then at the time. I said, I came over to improve my cricket. We both obviously haven't got along. I've enjoyed my time. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Another time it might, who knows, but hopefully we cross paths down the track. I packed my car and I drove back to Victoria, and I played Victoria 10 days or 2 weeks later.
When you went back, Terry Jenner was there. Man who's had a tremendous influence on your career.
He did. Well, through the academy, he introduced me to Ian Chappell, who's, I think I've learnt more off Ian Chappell than anyone about the game of cricket.
In what sense about the game? I mean, about the mental state you need to be in and that sort of thing. Because
how to play the game?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's interesting. We'll talk about this in just a moment, actually. That kind of thought you put into playing the game, the way you work out how to get a player out, because that's fascinating. I mean, you don't just run up and let it go. There's lots of preparation goes into that. When did you realise, in all this early stuff, when you're playing for Victoria and then got a chance to play for Australia in your very early years of your career, when did you realise that you'd arrived? When did you realise that you had a potential to do something in this game? When did you realise that you could become significant in this game of cricket?
Well, I didn't until probably Boxing Day '92 against the West Indies, and I'd played 12 or 18 months of international cricket. It was amazing. Once I left they got rid of me at St Kilda Footy Club in 1988. I was there 86, 87, 88. They got rid of me. I went to England in 1989 and played down in Bristol, played league cricket. I put on 19 kilo. I had a bit of fun.
English hospitality, was it?
Yeah, I went over 80 kilos, came back 99. My dad didn't recognise me. I walked past, said, Dad. He sort of looked at me when I came past. We had Busby's on Monday night. We had, you name it, every night we were just drinking pints. So that was at 89 in Bristol. I came back, got into the cricket academy, and I got picked to go to a West Indies youth tour in 1990. Then went to Zimbabwe with the second 11 Australian side. I'm with Mark Taylor, Steve Waugh, Tom Moody, these guys.
But you didn't feel then?
No, never thought. I just thought, I just want to go along with it. This seemed
Yeah.
like a bit of fun.
Yeah.
I still wasn't taking it serious because I didn't think I was any good. But I started to have a bit of success. Got back, started playing cricket for Victoria. And then the next time I got picked for Australia, 1991, 92 against India. Got smashed all over the park. Didn't know half the team when I stood at the dressing room. I was standing there with my bag like, I've seen you. I was practicing. I was you in the backyard last week. I've seen all these guys. And I didn't know half the team. So that was quite a daunting experience. And back then, it's sort of old school, which is, you don't speak unless you're spoken to. You don't shower until everyone else has showered. You get everyone a drink and all those types of things. So it was a pretty tough sort of, and I thought, what am I doing? I'm getting smashed all over the park and I don't know half these guys. It was quite intimidating, to be honest. But to their credit, they made me feel welcome. Jeff Marsh and David Boone, if you think this is welcoming, but they grabbed an esky. I sat up on top of the old Sydney Park Royal. And they said, right, youngster, you're going to drink this with us. And that was, that we celebrated New Year and we drank the esky and that was fun. And then we played. I played in my first test match, as I said, got smashed. Played the next test, got smashed against India, got dropped. Went to Sri Lanka, got smashed. But in that time, between going to Sri Lanka, I went back to the academy with Terry Jenner and Rod Marsh. I got back to 79 kilos. I got super fit. I trained every day. And it was basically a lot of chats I had with Terry Jenner about what sacrifices have you made to keep getting selected for Australia. You're not taking it serious. A lot of people would give anything to play Test cricket for Australia. He said a lot of us, including himself, have done a lot of good work. He said, I've taken 40 wickets, 500 runs a year. I still can't break into the Australian side. He said, you've done nothing and you're still getting a game. He said, you don't deserve it and you haven't made any sacrifices. Look at you. You smoke heaps. You go through the bottle shop and grab 12 beers and just sit in front of the tally and drink it. He said, and you're still playing for Australia. He said, you don't deserve to. And then I sort of thought about it and thought, well...
It's an interesting word, sacrifice, isn't it?
It is. And I thought to him, I said, oh, yes, I have. Of course I have. And he said, OK, tell me what. And I was like, lots of stuff. And he said, well, tell me one. And I was trying to think of what sacrifice I'd actually made. I hadn't really made any. So it was that time I thought, right, I'm going to get super fit. I'm going to try and learn as much as I possibly can. And the only way to learn is to make some mistakes. And I thought I knew better about certain ways, but I think the overriding fact that I listened, the first time I sort of actually started to listen to people. Yeah. And, as a youngster, we all think we're pretty good and we know everything and that old head on young shoulders and things like that.
That was the moment. That was the change.
I think that was it. And then I went to Sri Lanka 92 and I got smashed again. And I was 79 kilo. I'd done, hours and hours of bowling. I talked to Ian Chappell and Terry Jenner and Rod Marsh and all these different types of people. And I thought, why am I having success? And Alan Border sat next to me, who was captain of the side, and he said, mate, if you keep doing the way you do, you keep busting your gut and you keep wanting to play for Australia, you keep bowling the way you are, it'll turn around. I went, yeah, sure. And I didn't believe him. And then the next innings was was the first time that I felt I'd actually contributed, which was important. It was probably my favourite test match, not just because I contributed, it was one we should never have won. Through the whole course of the game, Sri Lanka basically needed 180 to win on the last day, none for 70, 2 for 120, and then the game changed. Greg Matthews was superb. He took fifer, and then they needed 16 to win. I think they had 4 wickets in hand, and Alan Border said to me, next over up that end. I was like, oh no, the game could be over here in 1 over. Please, no, I don't want to do this. And I bowled a maiden, and I went, it's not over yet. But I landed them, and they spun, and it was all pretty good. Greg Matthews took a wicket the next over, so they had 3 wickets in hand, and then in the next 2 overs, I got 3 for none off 11 balls, and we won the test. We won by 12 or 13 runs, and that was the first series win that Alan Border ever had on the subcontinent. And it was, for me, I just felt I could contribute to the win. So to feel part of the team, it actually made me like, whew, I'm okay.
Well, now we're moving into the territory, the start of the legend, actually. And the legend really began, of course, in England in that very famous test match you played at Old Trafford when you bowled poor old Mike Gatting. Poor old Mike, with a ball of the century.
Mike.
Poor old Mike, yeah. Let's go to the break, being reminded of that, and talk about it when we come back. Here we are.
And he's done it. Gatting has absolutely no idea what has happened to it. He still doesn't know.
Well, that has turned about 2.5 feet. Gatting can't believe his eyes. What a start for Shane Warne.
The Gatting ball, a moment of cricket history. I mean, when you bowl a ball like that, you're chuffed, you're delighted, aren't you? You bowl the perfect ball. But you couldn't have imagined, could you, what it meant to you? Because it did literally change your life, didn't it?
No, definitely. It is a fluke. People sort of laugh at that and say, nah, it's not a fluke. But it is. To do that first ball, you know, when you're nervous and you haven't been playing for long, and you're playing against England, you've got Mike Gatting down one end, who's a superb player. Yeah. To just land it is a fluke, but then to actually watch it drift in and spin like that, I mean, it's just, I suppose for me, as a leg spinner, it's the perfect ball you can bowl. You can't bowl a better leg break than that. You can bowl ones that spin more, you can bowl ones that do different things, but as a pure leg spinner, as the ball goes in, it drifts down and hits the top of off stump. That's what you're trying to do.
Perfect. And he didn't play a bad shot with it either.
No, well, yeah, no, he didn't actually. No, he didn't. He played it, you know, he played it as he would have 100 times that he'd do exactly the same. Sure. So, from a leg spinner's point of view, it was the perfect leg break.
Let's have a look. Let's be reminded of it again.
Yeah, come on, let's watch it a few times.
Let's watch it a few times, yeah.
And he's done it.
I like his face.
Gatting has absolutely no idea what has happened to it. He still doesn't know.
Well, I saw Ian Healy jumping around all over the place, so I thought I'd jump around too. I think Mike Gatting thought Ian Healy might have actually knocked the bails off or something as well, but unlucky Mike, he didn't.
It's also, of course, you made spin bowling sexy as well from that point on. I mean, that was the moment in time when the fast bowlers were shoved on one side and leg spin came to the fore, and it became the sexy thing.
It did, and as you say, that did change my life. Suddenly, a lot of people wanted to know exactly what I was doing, who I was doing it with, where I was doing it, and they followed us.
How many times?
Well, yeah, exactly. And all those different types of things, and you know how many beers I can drink, and they were going back and finding out people I used to in 1989 in Bristol or 91 in Accrington up at Lancashire League cricket, and who I hung out with then, and who I'd seen, met, where I used to drink, and what did he drink, and all those different types of things that really. I don't know why people are interested in that stuff, but they are.
But they are, and you have to be you have to live your life accordingly.
That's right.
And I suppose it's true, and no, but listen, I'm not making a judgment at all. I mean, it's happened to all of us who've had some notoriety at all. But for a young player, a young athlete, I feel sorry for the young athletes particularly because, you know, there's no school you go to which tells you about this at all.
That's right. And some of it's hard to handle, and all you can do is, I think what I've learned is try and get the right people around you. If you can get a lot of people out there that are just sharks that just want to try and make some money, and they try and say, look, I'll manage you, and they promise the world and all those different types of things. So in my experience, it's very important to get the right people around it that actually care for you, and they want your best interest at heart, not anything else. And if they have that, then you say no to a lot of things. And at that time, though, at 23 years of age or 24, I didn't know anything. And as you say, there's no school you can go to try and learn about how to handle situations like that, and the attention, and you know, walking out your hotel room and out the front of the hotel, and there's 10 photographers there, or sometimes I had 5 or 6 ladies in bikinis delivering me stuff, trying for a scoop for the tabloid press, like those sorts of things. You don't know how to handle them. Sometimes you just do the wrong thing, but most of the time...
there have been times when you could only blame yourself.
Made the wrong choice.
Of course. But we'll talk about it in a moment. Let's keep on the cricket, because I wanted to talk... I mean, you said there, that Gatting ball, that wasn't planned. You just, you let, and it was a perfect ball. But what's impressive about you is the amount of time you spend studying the opposition, the amount of time you spend planning the bowling. You spend hours in front of videos, watching videos, don't you, of your opponents?
Not hours in videos. I go through it in my head a lot. I occasionally will watch if I'm not quite sure about which plan I want to use to specific batters, I might ask for something every now and then, or I'll go back and I'll ring Channel 9 or someone and ask for some footage or something like that. But I generally, most of it's in my head, and I've got a very good memory for, if I played against you, Michael, for a few times, what shots you like and how to bowl it, and when I bowled certain deliveries, if you picked them and how you played them. And generally, when you remember those sorts of things, that dictates what your plan is. And when you've got a plan, that dictates your field. So I think when I first started, I used to just deliver the ball, and batsmen, I'd wait for them to make a mistake. And I didn't really have a plan. But as I got on and understood the game a little bit better, I understood that I needed a plan. I needed to get the batsman out. And no matter what the situation, you always say, how am I getting him out? Even if they're 1 for 300, this is how I'm getting Michael Parkinson out, and that dictates my field, no matter what. So my attitude is always to get them out, not to stop runs or just dry up runs. So when you've got your plan, whatever plan that might be, that goes from memory. And if you're not quite sure, you might try and check it out or ask somebody else, how did he play it last time? But I'm pretty good. I remember most.
But also, too, I mean, you're very good at playing the mind games against people.
Yep.
And you observe their body language, don't you,
Yep.
for signs. Can you give me an example of using that to your advantage?
Yeah. Sledging type things, when you want to actually put someone off their mark. You generally try and pick someone, which I've learned. I picked a few wrong ones at the start, but like I picked Sachin Tendulkar. I think he's made 1400s against Australia, and now he's one of my best friends. So, but you've got to pick someone that's trying to make a name for themselves in the team. They want to impress people, so they want to actually get into a bit of a scrap or into a fight. And I think if you can put someone off, it doesn't have to be. It's not, swearing at them and call them an idiot. Sometimes it might be, but most of the time, the sledges, the best ones are the clever ones, or the ones that got a little bit of truth in it that just might hurt a little bit.
Like?
Well, for instance, when some people get MBEs, and they didn't really have a lot to do with.
You mean Paul Collingwood?
Well, I can't remember his name, but I remember there was a time when I used to play, and there was this one time in Sydney where a gentleman got an MBE and he didn't really do much to deserve that MBE, and I just let him know that he might want to hand it back. I can lend him some stamps if he wants. So
But he sledged you first, didn't he? He said,
Yeah.
he said you ate all the Christmas pies, didn't he?
No, well, I don't think he said that. He was actually laughing. I appeal a lot, and he was doing something like that. Anyway, whatever he said, it didn't matter in the end. I found that when I get sledged, I'll dish it out, so I have to be prepared to cop that, which is fine. But I'm very lucky that the more I get sledged, the more it makes me concentrate, and the more it actually makes me think about it. Like even my batting, I'm hopeless. But if I get sledged and that, it actually helps me. It makes me concentrate and not play a silly shot. So,
Alan Border says something about that.
well, Alan Border was the one bloke that taught me sledging. It doesn't matter who's down the other end. If you feel like you're bowling or you're batting and you're not quite there and you're not concentrating how you should be, or it's not happening for you, he said the one thing that he does that he found worked for him was to sledge someone. Just pick someone in the opposition and pick a fight with them. And he said, if you pick a fight, because what it means is him versus you then. So it makes you switch on, you get your competitive juices going, and makes you concentrate. So I tried that a few times, and I liked it. Yeah, I like it. It kind of worked.
Tell the Daryl Cullinan story. Is that true, the sledge there?
Which one?
The one about the psychiatrist?
Yes, correct.
Tell
That
us.
is actually true. I'll try and make it into a short version. Daryl Cullinan played first game against us in 1994. Melbourne, Boxing Day Test match, 85,000 people. It's the first time Australia's playing South Africa in a long time. And Daryl Cullinan had just broken the record for the highest first-class score made by a South African. He beat Graham Pollock, or Barry Richards from memory, one of the two, 300 and something. So we heard a lot about this Daryl Cullinan. And he got to Melbourne. We won the toss, elected to bat. We made a bit of a score, and every batsman that came in said that Daryl Cullinan, at second slip, had abused every single one of them, sledged every one. So everyone came in and said, well, he's a pretty good player, so let's just don't say anything. So as our innings went on, he dropped 4 catches through the innings and sledged every single one of our players. When he came out to bat, Craig McDermott knocked him over first ball, caught behind. So then it rained, the game finished, we moved to Sydney. So we're talking in the meeting about Daryl Cullinan. We said, what did we get out of Daryl Cullinan? Anyone find anything? Well, he got out first ball, he dropped 4 catches and sledged the absolute out of us all. So no, we haven't got anything on him. So it was in Sydney where the wicket generally turns. It was a real dust bowl. And so he said, Alan Border decided, when he comes out, we'll see how he goes against spin straight away. So I bowled a leggy, had a plan to set him up for a flipper to see if he could pick it. Bowled a flipper and knocked him over. So that was that. Second innings comes out, same scenario. Come out again, I bowled a wrong-un to him at the last ball of an over. And so I got my hat, walking back to slip. They were talking in the middle. And as I was walking past, I just sort of lingered to hear what he was saying. He started laughing. He said, oh, how easy was that wrong-un to pick? I picked that wrong-un quite easily. Okay. So the next over, I set him up for a flipper again. Bang. Got him out with a flipper. And I just reminded him where the change rooms were over in that direction. And with a few words before it. And it ended in off. And once I had done that, we sort of said, rightio, let's really keep it on Darryl. So any chance we had, we said the flipper's now called the Darryl ball. So it wasn't known as a flipper, it was known as Darryl ball. So we really tried to build it up on him. Anyway, the series finishes, he gets dropped for the next series, and then the next series 4 years later, he gets called back. I'm picking up the paper, and there's a big double-page interview with Darryl Cullinan about how he's been to see a psychiatrist. He's been playing the man and not the ball, and I'm picking this up, and I'm thinking, come on. Now, I'm sure you could come up with something, Michael, about that. And anyway, he comes out. I'd knock over Adam Backer, caught Mark Taylor at slip. So wherever generally the wicket falls or someone catches, you're lingering around there. That just happens to be at first slip right next to the stumps where he comes out to bat. He takes centre and everyone sort of moved away. And Mark Taylor said, come on, get back to you, Mark. I said, yeah, in a minute. So I was just looking around the ground and he was facing up and asking for centre and looking at the umpire. And I just said, what colour was the couch? And then I just said, as I was walking back, with hourly sessions, half hour, just pay by the hour. And then I walked back and the crowd was into it and I ended up getting him out stumped, so that was pretty good too. But that was true.
It's interesting playing those mind games. I mean, cricket is a game where actually that does play a part, and of course it does. I mean, it's a hugely psychological game. A lot of it played up in the head there.
It is. I think a lot of people have the ability, and I think we've all heard stories about some guys that had the ability but never quite made it. Yes. And I think they've really got to want that. And there's a lot. It's not just the package. It's like when you say, why don't you keep playing? If I could turn up the morning of a game or the night before a test match, I'd probably keep playing.
Yes.
But it's not. You can't pick and choose. You have to take the whole package, and that is the training. That is the modern-day professional cricketer or sportsman. It is going to team meetings, to team functions, to recovery the next morning and actually applying yourself to doing all those types of things. And I knew when it started to become a bit of a chore, that my enjoyment was starting to wane, then it was time for me to go. Because I had the opportunity also to go on a high. And one thing I spoke to, when I say I spoke to a lot of people, one of the people I spoke to was Ian Chappell. And I said to him, listen, mate, I really think it's my time. It's time to retire. And I suppose at that time you're looking for people to say, yeah, you're doing the right thing. And you're just trying to gauge what people want to say and how they react to when you say that, I'm going to retire. First of all, it's a bit of a shock, like, no, we don't want you to go, we want you to hang around. But it has to come to an end. But he said to me, it's better they say to you, why did you, rather than why didn't you?
Yes.
Or why don't you,
Yes,
so...
right, yeah.
And I thought about that, and once he said that to me, I was 9 million%. I knew it already, but I said, well, that's spot on. And to have that opportunity, a lot of sportsmen don't have. To go out on top when you're still taking 5 for, smashing 70, taking some catches, and you're doing really well, it's a great time to be able to go out on top and to do it with a team, to have the opportunity to play in a team like we have this summer, to win 5-0 and play the cricket we've played.
It's a great team and played.
It couldn't have gone any better.
No. Let's be reminded, going back in your career again, a bit more action now. I asked you to pick a couple of wickets that particularly you enjoyed. And one is this, but you're bowling Chandra Paul. Now, why did you choose this?
My first finger operation was in '96, and I went through a lot of hard work, probably 2 or 3 hours of bowling a day for probably a few months every day. To try and find that feeling back. Well, what happened is, how it changed a bit was, when I had my finger operation, it's all about a feel. And I used to have a ball in my hand that I used to flick like this and do all the different deliveries in my hand to get a feel to how it come out. And then I'd go and bowl hour after hour in the nets by myself or with my brother and just keep bowling to get that muscle memory, to get that feel. And when I broke my finger, it was a completely different feel. And I remember standing at the Sydney Cricket Ground nets with Terry Jenner, and we were bowling, and I was starting to spin. And I said to TJ, he said, how did that feel? And I like proud, like, how did that feel? And I went, oh, okay. He said, well, it was sensational. It drifted in, it spun big. And I said, well, I didn't feel that. It didn't feel like it used to. So suddenly that clicked both of us that it was a different feel now with your finger. And I mean, look at it. I mean, it's still, that's how it is. Yes. I don't know if you can see that, but it's bent. So it took a bit of time to get that feel. And in this test match in Sydney with Chanderpaul, this was the first time that I actually had that feel where I bowled the delivery, and as it went left my hand, it felt good, and I could see it just drift away. And I saw him go back to cut, and I was thinking to myself, spin, spin, spin. And it ragged back, hit him on the pad and smashed his stumps over. And it was probably the furthest I've ever turned a ball to get a wicket. And that gave me confidence that I could keep going.
You spin it so much that Steve Waugh was saying that when he first fielded it short leg for you, that he could hear go...
Yeah, you could hear I suppose the revolutions on it. As the time got over, there wasn't as many on it. But
let's have a look
when
at
I
that.
first started,
Let's have a look at this.
This one you would have heard it. Yeah.
Got him! That's well bowled, Shane Warne. What a wicket that is. He's really teed him up, and he has struck just before lunch.
So that was a significant moment again, a personal memory from that.
It was, and if you look at it from front on...
Have we got it in slow motion? Let's have a look.
If you look at it from front on, you can actually see when it leaves my hand. You can see it sort of drift away, and he starts to go back. There it is. It just starts to drift. Then he goes back, and then you can see it spin. So that, for me, was something that to me knows that it is a different feel. But that was the first ball I'd bowl that I could actually feel the difference, but I could still achieve spinning the ball. So that was a major one for me.
And another major one will be your first hat-trick in a test match.
And only one.
And only one.
Yeah.
Against
England. I actually, it was the test match before in Brisbane, I had an opportunity. I got 2 wickets in a row. I got McKay with a flipper, and Phil Tufnell came out to bat. And I thought, what's the least thing he's expecting? And then I thought, he's probably not expecting it. He doesn't know what he's coming. So I thought, I'll bowl it wrong, and he'll just push forward. And I went over the top of the stumps and missed it. So I thought, oh, I've missed my opportunity for a hat-trick. The next test match was in Melbourne. And I remember I got the 2 wickets, and then Devon Malcolm came out looking like Robocop. He just padded up with all this sort of stuff, and I thought, I'm only bowling leggies, it's not that hard. And, you know, it was my family, there was friends, I don't know how many people there, was a lot of people there. But my family and friends were all there, and it's always a special time, the Melbourne Test match, and then the Sydney one. But it's Christmas, and it's your kids and your family and sharing that time about, you know, seeing your relatives. Sometimes you mightn't want to see them, but seeing them, you haven't seen them for a year. I'm not saying I do, some people mightn't. But it's just that time, and it's a happy time. So to actually achieve the hat-trick, which is pretty hard to do, there hasn't been a lot of them. It's my only one I've ever done in any form of cricket. It's like a hole-in-one. I've never got close to that, but it's my only ever hat-trick in underage cricket or whatever. It was just one of those moments. It was David Boone's birthday. He took a screamer.
Oh, yeah, there's a wonderful catch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was just a special time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here we are. Let's have a look.
Warne continuing. Oh, and they hit the pad. Yes, he's got him. That's out. RBW. That hit the pad, and that is the end of De Freitas. Oh, and that's out. Caught behind. Yes, he's got it. Fast ball. Beautifully bowled by Warne. Not just pushing forward. A fine little touch.
Just bounced on him a bit. Good catch from Ian Healy.
Let's see the third one.
There we go. And then Devon Malcolm comes out. Have a look at him with Robocop. At this stage, I'm thinking the top spinner that doesn't spin too much to make him play. He played, gloved it.
That's some catch, baby. When you see that thing side on.
He thought it was a cold beer, so he died for it. Look at that. Cold beer, I'll get that one. But that was a special moment.
Can we talk now about the other side of your career, the downside of it all?
If you have to.
Well,
no, you go for it, mate. Ask whatever you like.
You mentioned there your finger and your arm. I mean, the body, you've taken a terrible toll.
Yep.
And you were done on a drugs charge, diuretic. You tested positive for, and then there was the business about the bookie scandal, the so-called, where you took money from a bookmaker to pass on information about the ground, the conditions and that sort of thing. Which of those two do you think, in the long run, looking back now, have lingered most? Which are the ones that you think have damaged you most?
Oh, all of them. All my mistakes, I think. Out of those two there, sometimes what you actually read in the paper is not exactly how it goes. I've never really had an opportunity to... I've sort of tried to say it in a book the way it was and things like that. First of all, the bookmaker stuff. That was a friend of Mark Warne's that I was introduced at a casino where I lost $5,000 of my own money.
Yes.
And the next day he contacted me in my room, this guy who was called John, who I met as a friend of Mark Warne's, not as a bookmaker, who I didn't know that he was a bookmaker. He was a friend. And a friend of Mark's is a friend of mine. And that day he said to me, he said, look, no strings attached, you're one of my favourite players. You know, I love what you've done for Australia. What you've done on the cricket field is fantastic. I saw you lose $5,000 at casino. Here's $5,000, a token of my appreciation. No strings attached, no nothing. And I think, well, hang on, no, I'm fine, mate. I've got money. I don't need your money. He said, mate, I'm a very wealthy man. I've done okay. He never told me he was a bookmaker. I didn't know that. And went on and on and on. In the end, he gave me the $5,000. To my mistake was to take it. Even though he said there was no strings attached and no nothing, my mistake was to take it. I took it up the road to Sri Lanka and lost it at the casino again. But my mistake was to take it because I suppose you get nothing for nothing.
It's a stupid thing to do.
Yeah, it was, and that's what I'm saying it was. So later on that, he rang me up in Christmas time and New Year and asked simple questions like the media. You know, like, you know, how's the wicket? Yeah, it's good, John. Yeah, it's no worries. Hopefully it'll be all right, blah, blah, blah. I then found out later that when Mark Warne and I were called into Cricket Australia that he was a bookmaker and that I'd given information, which I said, well, I didn't knowingly give information to this guy. It's nothing more than I'd say at a press conference. But the fact of the matter was he was a bookmaker. I did take the money off him, but I didn't actually know that. So if I hadn't known that, once I found out that, I never took any call again from him or did anything like that. So that was at the drug thing. That was pure vanity. There was nothing else. There was no sinister things to it. And what people hasn't been reported is that every single test they've done, they said it, the reason I got done for only 12 months rather than the mandatory 2 years is that they said, well, because we've done all the tests, they were exactly the same in everything and it didn't mask anything. So they could have tested for whatever they wanted, which they did.
The allegation was that it masked an anabolic steroid, which you would use to get over your shoulder.
Which is incorrect and lies. And it had been proven in the court that we went there, or the, it was like a court setup, that it was because every single test they'd done for me over the period I've been playing, the period they've been testing, and the test they did there where I tested for a banned substance was exactly the same. There was nothing else in there except for this thing that was on a ban. And our point was, well, why should it be banned? If you can test for absolutely everything and it shows up everything, it's not hiding anything.
But you shouldn't have taken it. I mean,
I shouldn't have, because I should have known, I should have checked.
It was on a list. I mean, you're responsible for what's in your body.
Yes.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, though, yes, I should have read the book. Yes, I should have been more aware. Yes, I should have asked the doctor, am I allowed to take this? I didn't.
Yeah.
So I have to cop the consequences.
See, that lingers on because Dick Pound, a couple of weeks ago, he's the head of the World Doping Agency, he was on about it, saying that you got off lightly. Yeah,
well, that's his opinion. You know, I said at the time, and I still stand by it now, if anyone takes performance-enhancing drugs, they should be wiped out of their sport because that's cheating.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to cheat. I wasn't trying to beat the system. And I said to them at the time, I haven't done that. You can do whatever you like, whatever test, anything you like. I have not done that, and I never would. It means too much to me to do that. What I was guilty of was a bit of vanity, yes, and I should have checked, yes, and I copped my punishment. A year out of the game, and for me that made me hungry. And I think when I was out of that game, in that time, I worked out, look, cricket should be fun. It's, you know, and I thought about whether I wanted to give it away.
Did you? Do you thought of giving it up?
Of course I did.
Did you?
You know, and I thought, look, what I've done was silly. It was a mistake. You know, I shouldn't have done that. I should have checked with the doctor whether I could or not.
Well, you've done your time, as you said.
But I did my time, and I think to my credit, I did that time. I came back, you know, and I enjoyed my cricket.
What about the other stuff, the personal stuff, you know, the stuff in the newspapers about the girls and all that sort of thing? I mean, that had a profound effect on you because it ruined your marriage, didn't it?
Yep.
We're not going to go into detail about it at all, except to me, it just seemed to me that, going back to what we were saying before, that you knew you're a famous man. You knew that you're being set up by these people. I mean, there are girls out there, even now, I suppose, plotting for when you go back to England again.
Probably.
You know, probably. A quick call, and you are Warne, and then you come, and the next thing it's in the news of the world. I mean, what I can't understand is why you kept falling for the same routine.
Well, they weren't all the same routine. They were painted out to be the same sort of routine, you know. Some were looking for a bit of...
But you know that.
Yep, there's setups and things like that, I know that.
And also you know that when you started texting people and that sort of thing, that there was a fat chance that you know, it would come back and blow up in your face, which it did. Yep. I mean, is there a compulsion involved here?
Maybe, I don't know. I think, obviously, if I had to stop and thought, hang on a minute, wait, let's just see what's happening here now. But it's not like that. Unfortunately, I gave into temptation, gave into opportunity. It can be a lonely, I'm not trying to make excuses. I take full responsibility, and I have apologised to my wife, who's the only person I have to apologise about it, and my family, no one else.
And your kids.
That's what I'm saying. My children and my wife, the only ones have to apologise. I don't have to apologise to anybody else, because at the end of the day, I think whatever happens between two people should be private. But in this day and age, it's not.
Yes,
and you have to realise that, yes. The one thing is that the more you resent that stuff, that nothing is private, and the more you resent the media and you start to think those way about them, and you start to hate you know, leave me alone, I think the worse it can get. I think you have to accept that it's part of your life. And as I said before, I have to be quicker and more, you know, get the detector up quicker and work out that this is a sting, this is a setup or whatever. For me, the opportunity was there. At times I've been single when some of these stories have come out as well. So you're single, I can, you know, if I want to do that, that's my choice. At times when I was married, that was when I made the mistake. I shouldn't have done that. But, you know, there were a lot of things that go on with a relationship. And I was the first person to put my hand up with Simone and say, look, I apologise. I don't know why I did them. I can't actually say, look, because if I had stopped and thought about what was at stake, I wouldn't have done it.
Have you thought about going to a psychiatrist and finding out that?
I'll find out what colour the couch is first. But,
exactly.
Maybe I should. Or there might be. I don't know, mate. And I don't think I can't live by saying I regret doing that. What am I doing? Because it's done, and I've done it, and I wish it never happened, and I wish I had thought more about it. But the fact of the matter is, it is done, and there's no use harping on it. Some of these things that you're asking about, and some of the things that are brought up. Now, the bookmaker stuff was 13 or 14 years ago.
Of course, I understand.
And I was 22 years of age.
I know.
So a lot of the stuff that people keep bringing up happened a long time ago.
But it's all part of you. It's all part of that legend, you see. It's all part of Shane Warne, and that's what we're sort of looking at tonight. And I mean, there's an interesting difference, split, between the way you approach your professional life, how carefully you plot it, and the results are there for everybody to see, and how careless you are with your private life. And it's just that's intriguing. I mean, what part did booze play in all of this?
I wouldn't use that as an excuse. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't, but that's me. And that's why I'm saying, you asked me at the top, what about you and Simone? And that's something that we have to work out together, is what do we actually want? Can we forgive and forget each other? Sure. Is that what we want? Can we both be with each other? She might like somebody else, I might like somebody else. I might not be able to commit 100% to her now. And we've been through all the hard times, and that's something that I'm going to try and work out with her. And who knows what the future holds. I don't know whether we can be together. I don't know if we actually both want to be together. I think ideally the perfect scenario is I still love Simone, I still love my children, and I'm a very good parent, I'm a good dad. I mightn't be the best husband, but I'm a good dad. And if we can all work that out together and make that work, then great. But that's for us to work out, not for anyone else. It's pretty hard. You know, every morning you wake up and you've got 3 or 4 people following you around with their earpieces in cars. You know, you try and have a chat over a coffee about things and, you know, normal relationship stuff, and, you know, you've got 3 or 4 people coming over with cameras. But that's part of your life, and you have to accept that.
I mean, Simone's famous now in her own right. She had a career of her own. I mean, I wondered how that affected you as well, because, you know, they are married, you're the top dog, Simone's looking after the kids, and all of a sudden you come back and here's this woman, she's a star. Did that affect you as well? Do you have to adjust to that?
It took a bit of time to work out with the children, because suddenly Mummy was doing this and Mummy was on TV, and we were sitting eating popcorn watching Mummy on Dancing.
It's a very male thing, isn't it? I mean...
well, Mr. Mum, it was quite tough trying to look after the 3 kids, but I actually, it was good fun and good for her. As I said to her, I'm here for the support. If she wants any help, I'm happy to help her. I wished her all the best with her career, and I hope it worked for her. I think she just wanted to sort of have her own independence and work out what she wanted to do. Whether it's to be in, whether it was to be in the media, or whether it was to do commercials or anything like that. That wasn't, at that stage we were separated, we were divorced, we were just friendships, so I didn't really have an impact on me. I was there to support her in whatever decision she wanted. A lot of people thought I was jealous of what she was doing.
Yes.
Which is incorrect. I was just there for her and support her. And every time we were seen together talking about it, supporting her, it was like they're back together. But, you know, I'm there as a friend. We've been through a lot together, as I said, and we are friends, so I'm a friend as well.
What's interesting is the way that you've bounced back professionally in you know, the way that you've compartmentalised your life to the extent where you can have a situation like that and still play at the top of your game. And that's something I want to explore in just a moment. We'll be back in just a moment. I was making the point there about the way that you were able to compartmentalise your life, where under moments of great personal stress, you can actually go and play wonderfully well at cricket. Never was it better demonstrated than the 2005 Ashes series in England. I mean, here you had a situation where Simone left and took the kids and went home, and you were in tears at the airport. You were absolutely shattered. And then you go on and you stuff us. I mean, you personally yourself, I mean, the team didn't, but you played you took 40 wickets. You've got runs as well. You've got more runs than Matthew Hayden and many other frontline batsmen. The question is obvious. I mean, how do you manage to do that in a time when you are actually at rock bottom as a dad and as a husband?
I think you need to get to that spot to work out how to concentrate and how to do that. To me, it was quite simple. And I think generally the best ideas and the best ways you can handle things are always simple. Everything can seem so complicated, and how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that? But for me, it was quite simple. What did I love in life? I love Simone and my children. I love my cricket. You know, I love my family. But they're the two main things that I was doing right now. I have my family and I have my cricket, and they're the two things that I loved at the time. And I'd stuffed that one up, so the cricket couldn't suffer. And it just made me so determined that no matter what, I'm not saying it was easy. After play had finished, I got back to my hotel. That was really tough, and I was lucky that I had some pretty good people around, like Michael Clark, who was a young guy on the side. I probably burdened a bit too much on him, but there's a few nights where we just drank the mini bar and asked for it to be restocked and drink it again, and you'd wake up with a bit of a headache, but you'd get out and do it. There were times where I sat there by myself and, you know, cried and did all those sorts of things and wonder how it was going to work, and then suddenly I'd get on the bus and put on a brave face, get to the cricket ground and try and play. And to be able to, you know, we lost, which is, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you go as an individual if you lose, because it's all about the team. But for me, I was quite proud of the way that I handled the situation, because it's never easy going through divorce. It's quite tough, and I don't think anyone realises how hard it is and all the things you have to go through when you go through divorce. It's bloody tough. But to do it so publicly was even harder, and that everybody knew. were looking for me to fall to pieces, and I wasn't going to let them do that.
You were also, whenever you played, well, certainly at Lord's when you walked out there for that first test, I remember I was there, they were singing a song, the crowd, weren't they?
Yeah, lots of songs. They said first I lost my hair, and then I lost my wife, and all those sorts of things, the Barmy Army. So they gave it to you as well, all around the ground.
Yeah.
And so there was nowhere to hide or anything like that. So from a pure personal point of view, I was very, very happy and proud of the way I performed that series. But at the end of the day, it meant nothing because we lost.
You lost. But it was, by any measure, a great series. Of course it was. It was a fabulous contest right the way through.
Yep.
Please God that this last one had been as good as that, which it wasn't.
I'll take 5-0, Parker.
Yeah, you'll say 5-0, I know. But we'll get on to that in just a moment. Let's be reminded, though, because again we asked you about a favourite moment, and you chose of all the 40 weeks you took, you'd like to see this one again, a reminder of how you diddled Andrew Strauss.
Yeah, this was a very crucial time in the game at Edgbaston, where England were coming in for their second innings, and we had to try and restrict them to as little as possible for their lead. And this was the night before so we'd been bowled out. We had a few overs to go that night, and Ricky Ponting said to me, "Look, have a bowl up here." The quicks were getting whacked around a bit, so I wanted to try and make a statement to say, "You come here tomorrow, England. You're going to have to get past me tomorrow, because the wicket's starting to turn, and I'm going to knock you over tomorrow, and we're going to chase your score." And this was just one of those deliveries that I dragged him across the crease. One of these plans where I thought I could bowl him or get him LB padding up. I pushed him across the crease. I had my plan. I worked him across, and then I was going to go for a big spinner at the stumps to try and get him bowled to LB. And as he played it, you can see the way he played it. He walked across to leave it again, and it spun back behind his legs.
Let's have a look.
Unbelievable. Amazing. Amazing. This man is incredible. Just look at this.
Oh, this spin's big, massive. Middle stump, behind his legs. Andrew Strauss cannot believe it.
Let's get up to date now with the situation. I mean, 5-0, as you said, it was an extraordinary thing. You came back from that defeat in England, and you took stock. Australian cricket took stock. It was a marvellous thing that happened, because the consequences of that have been extraordinary. Boot camp, of course, that was a favourite of yours. And when John Buchanan said, lads, boot camp, toughen you up, your response was not a happy one.
No, I think to Australian cricket credit and to the team's credit, it hurt. You know, it really, really hurt to lose to England. And as we've said 50 million times, England thoroughly deserved to win that series. They were the better side and they deserved to win. But I think what it did, it made us, I've tried to think of a lot of words, but I think the one word that summed us up, it made us hungry. Hungry for success again, and hungry to be the best player you possibly can, and for the team to gel together. And the boot camp, there's a lot of us that didn't think it had any meaning whatsoever. But I think you have to say it was a success, because at the end of the boot camp, the one thing that we were was a lot closer together.
Yes.
And the other thing was that we learnt to do the same things in different ways, if that makes sense. From an army perspective, about discipline, on time, the little things that we knew were important, but they made it really important because it was push-ups, and there was a lot of punishment if you weren't on time, or your tent wasn't rolled up right, or your backpack you didn't do properly because it would fall apart, and then you wouldn't be able to drink for the day. So there was consequences if you didn't do anything right. And I think that's what, for us as a team, we became a lot more disciplined in being on time, wearing the right gear, being punctual, all the little things about helping your mate out, partnerships and little things like that. You know, we won, I think it was 11 out of 12 test matches before this series. It's now 16 out of 17 tests we've won in a row, which is since we've lost. But when we lost, I think for the actual game of cricket, it was fantastic for the world game. And if it takes Australian cricket to lose a series to England to help the game of cricket worldwide, then that's fantastic for us, really, to show you how well that we've played in international cricket and how people get excited by the way Australia play. It took some special people and a group of people like England and some special performances to beat us, and they deserve that. But what it did was make everyone say that Australia can be beaten and we can catch them. And to our credit, We've come back there and said, no, you can't. We're still the best side in the world, and these are the reasons why. And I think you could see that in the cricket that we've played.
That's the point, because, I mean, I've been watching cricket for a while, and that's some of the best cricket I've seen from any team. And my view would be that playing as you did at Sydney, particularly, and at Melbourne, that, I mean, a combined world 11 would have a tough job against you. I mean, it was that good, I thought. It was sublime cricket.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's the best team I've ever played with in the 15 years for Australia.
Really?
But I think
which might be better.
Well, it's pretty. I don't like to compare eras because I don't think that's fair on the people you played with then, or I don't think it's fair on the people you play with now. But, you know, how can you leave someone like a Mark Taylor out? How can you leave someone out like a Merv Hughes? So there might be different people in sides that you might put in here or there, but
as a team
far as a team's performance and the way you play, I don't think I've been involved with an Australian cricket team that was so hungry and wanted to put on a show and play some excellent cricket. And the cricket we've played this summer, 5 for 84 in Melbourne, Andrew Symes, Matty Hayden come out and get 150. England declare it 6 for 5, 150 in Adelaide. We make 500 in the first innings. We bowl them out for nothing. We chase it all on the last day in Adelaide. We get bowled out for 240 in Perth. You know, we bowl them out for 200. You know, it just kept going. It was just amazing, the fight back that we had all the time. From Melbourne, Boxing Day, 2 for 100 England.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
We bowl them out for 150. Yeah. You know, it's just amazing.
That's because we've got 5 number 11s in our order. but I mean,
unlucky.
Sorry. But again, I mean, from the English point of view, of course, it was very, very disappointing. And I know you feel that this is a special side. I just feel that we could have been more competitive than we were. And I do think that we did underestimate what you've just talked about. You've explained the way the Aussies felt. You've explained the hunger that they had. And I think we really underestimated that. We always know we're in for a fight when we come to Australia. That's the beauty of it, of the Ashes. But we weren't quite prepared. And when you ran on the field for the first Test match, I thought, watch out.
You could sort of sense, I think everyone knew we'd bounce back, but I don't really think England were ready for what extent we were ready. Right. And I think our intensity of the cricket we played was, as I said, I haven't experienced in my time, but I just reckon the other thing with England, since 2005 happened, they won, a lot of these guys have a lot of things happen in their life that they weren't used to. They suddenly had a lot of other things on the plate, whether it was writing columns in a newspaper, other endorsements, sponsorships, appearances. So suddenly their whole life changed. To lead up to that 2005 series, all they want to do was compete with Australia and be ready. And they were, and they played exceptional cricket. After that, they were juggling a lot of things. Suddenly it wasn't just cricket, they had a lot of other things. And I think they might have got distracted at times and were enjoying that. I'm not saying, I'm not having a go or anything like that, I'm just saying they had distractions for the first time in a long time. So in the period between 2005, them winning, and the bus tours and the Palace and the MBEs and the writing columns and the sponsorship endorsements and the who's got the biggest earring and all those different types of things, to actually getting here, I don't know, we were just ready for what, we knew what England were going to do, we knew how they played, and we were just ready. And whatever they threw at us, we were ready. And England, to their credit, played some exceptional cricket. You know, they had us 5 for 80.
But not enough.
When the big moments were there, Australia went bang with a knockout punch.
I mean, thank God. I mean, it was a dead rubber after three games, and thank God then it became the Shane Warne, McGrath, Langer triumphal procession. And Melbourne was unforgettable. The 700th Test wicket. I mean, you do write some wonderful scripts for yourself, don't you? You really do.
Well, my script writer's been, well, he's been amazing, really. Some of the stuff, like who would have thought you play international cricket for 16 seasons and you just happen to walk out to Melbourne Cricket Ground in your last ever Test match on 699 wickets. I mean, he's done a great job, really. And to able to, every now and then he could have just left a few things out, but you know.
Let's have a look. Let's be reminded of this wonderful moment.
Got him! There it is! Wicket number 700! And they can't catch him. Shane Warne through the gate as Scott Strauss. Well, you got the feeling he was writing the script, Shane Warne, way back in Perth when he took wicket number 699 to remove Monty Panesar. He'll be delighted that wicket number 700 has not just come here at the MCG on Boxing Day, but it's also Andrew Strauss. Bloke who was playing well, And in front of his home crowd, he holds the ball aloft. Well bowled, Shane Warne. Wonderful career. And no better way than to hit the stumps for wicket number 700.
And then the SCG again, that wonderful, unforgettable farewell there.
Yeah. It was the whole journey, the whole ride of international cricket. Really, I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to play for cricket for Australia. I'd like to think that I've repaid the fans, the public, the Cricket Australia, the selectors for choosing me and sticking with me. And my ride, I could not have asked. I didn't think I was good enough to take 700 odd wickets, 3,000 runs, over 100 tests. It's been an amazing journey, and I've loved every minute of it. And I wouldn't have changed it. I wouldn't have changed the spankings that I got at the start when I got smashed around, because that made me more determined. That made me have a taste for it. And I think as a young kid, working out what you want to do in life, some people never have that opportunity. I was lucky enough. I had a taste of international cricket. The carrot was dangled, but then I was proud of what I did. I actually wanted to become the best I could, and I'd put in a lot of hard work.
You did that.
And through 15 odd years, it's been a pretty good journey since then.
It's interesting, actually, because going back to something you said before about when you were going through this divorce, and the Lord's Test and the young clerk and all that. I mean, it seems to me that the big void's going to be in your life is that no matter what happens to you in the world outside, no matter how dirty it all gets, that when you went in that dressing room, what you had there was a team, mates who, didn't care, frankly, what had happened. That you were embraced by them and looked after by. You're going to miss that, aren't you? There's a void there, isn't there? You can't go there anymore. It doesn't exist.
No, you're probably
right. It's a
right.
safe haven.
Yeah, it is. And I suppose that's the beauty of a team sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
To actually enjoy other people's success. And I think that's what makes good captains and good leaders, to understand when someone's down the dumps, when something's happening to them and they're not quite themselves, to have that perception, to understand that. I enjoy being captain of Hampshire because I like to think I can get the best out of people. Whether it's I need to give them a kick up the bum to say, listen, mate, you need to do this, or to help them learn about cricket, how to play, or to put an arm around them and say, you're okay. To actually do those sorts of things gives me a lot of pleasure to see the team start to play well. But for me to come back, I've been very lucky to have a group of guys that I've achieved as a group, we've achieved some unbelievable things. And to be part of that, and for their friendship and support, and for how they have put the arm around you or kicked you up the backside and do those types of things, that is something I'm going to miss. And I think everyone that's played in a team sport and understood that camaraderie that becomes with a bond with a group of guys to go on that journey, when that's gone, it is going to take a while. That's why you see golfers when they play in the Ryder Cup or things like that, or in President's Cup. When you see them play as a team, Davis Cup in the tennis, when you see all that, they love it, and because it's part of a team. So that will be missed, but when I whip your butt on the golf course, Parky, and those sorts of things, those competitive juices will still be there.
The only time that they've played before, Parky's won up, actually.
Yeah,
But there we are. But let me do a bit of summing up here, actually, and of you, but other people. I just picked out one or two quotes which I'd like you to sort of think about, or to answer, actually. Simone said, I wish people understood Shane. He thinks everyone is against him. Is that true?
It depends on what stage that was when she said that, but I don't think that's true.
This is 2006, the interview.
Was it?
Yes, it was indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that? No. The team psychiatrist, Sandy Gordon, interesting quote this, which I'm sure you know about. He said, like most famous people, he's one of the loneliest people on the planet. Got no real friends.
That's totally incorrect. I'm very lucky that I've got, I can count probably 2 or 3 people that are my close friends, and I think that's what life's about, friendships and family. And friendships, if you've got 1 or 2, you can count them on one hand, your close friends that you'd drop anything for to do, then I think you're very, very lucky. And I've definitely got that.
And then there's a wonderful quote here. This is just somebody said this. He said, there are 2 kinds of retired sportsmen. There are guys who stay super fit and guys who become fat publicans within 6 months. I wonder which you might aim for.
Well, I've been a fat publican all my time, so I'll probably be super fit when I finish. So, look, it's interesting to hear those. I mean, and that's the one thing about, I suppose, that I have to read or hear, is that the one thing about being Shane Warne is that everyone's got a comment.
Sure.
And whether it be good, bad, they all want to hear. And that's when, if there's a lot of bad stuff out there, a lot of good stuff. A lot of people have got an opinion. And, you know, sometimes I think it's a bit harsh, and I think a lot of it, as I said to you before, a lot of it I bring on myself, so you have to expect that. But a lot of it's been a bit too harsh, I think, and a bit unfair. But it comes with the territory, so you just got to live with it, move on. There used to be times when I used to let it get to me. I used to be annoyed with it, but I suppose I've had plenty of practice at it, so I've become a bit stronger with it now, and I just, whatever they want to write, they can all judge me by, they can.
My view is, you were talking about the captaincy of Hampshire a while ago, and my view is that if you were captain of Australia, many people think you ought to be, and perhaps you might have been, given different circumstances. If you were the captain of Australia in this last series, you'd still be playing for Australia, wouldn't you?
Who knows? I don't think so, because I think it's the perfect way of going out. The captaincy side of things, I enjoy being captain because I think it brings out the best in me. But I've been very, very lucky to play under 4 wonderful captains for Australia.
Who was the best?
They've all had good things. I don't like to say who would be the best. I think the best tactician that I've had would be Mark Taylor. But there's a lot of things that Ricky Ponting does better than Mark Taylor. So as a combination, I don't know. But Mark Taylor's the best tactician, and probably I think that I've played under. But there are a lot of the guys had their own individual things that have been excellent. So the captaincy side of things, I had my time in it, and I had an opportunity doing it in one-day cricket. I was vice-captain for a while. You don't have to have a captain next to your name to help out others.
No, but it's the ultimate honour.
It is.
As John Howard said, it's more important than being Prime Minister of Australia.
Well, maybe that's where he's going wrong. No, I'm only joking, John. That's a joke, that's a joke.
I know, big,
Otherwise
we'll
my
have to
taxes will
put
go
joke
up on the
on
joke,
screen with
isn't it?
exclamation marks. Now, just a few final points now. I mean, you're going to dedicate quite a bit of your time, I would imagine, to your trust. When did you decide to do? Was there a moment? Was there something that you saw or happened to you where you thought, I've got to do something about this? Or how did it come about?
As a sportsman, there's a lot of people that would like some of your time. And I've been very lucky to have 3 wonderful children. And there's a lot of people that, through the cricket boards and that, they come through, can you visit this hospital? There's a lot of personal stuff that comes through. There's a sick child that you would like to come there. They won't put their head in this specially designed thing that has to go on their face to have this treatment, and all the different things like that. And I've been doing that for 10 or 15 years, and I don't want publicity. I don't want things for it. It's something that I wanted to do. And I remember going in and seeing these poor children with cancer. I remember I went on a trip to America with a group called Challenge, Kids with Cancer. There was 10 children who were sort of in remission. They were finishing off their treatments or still going some treatments with cancer. And they were aged between, I think, 12 and 18. So they were teenagers. And we took them all over America. And I just thought I could do more. I could actually make a difference, and I could do more. So it took me probably 2-3 years to set up the Shane Warne Foundation. And we're purely about children. Seriously ill and underprivileged children. And we're hopefully, by the end of the 2007 summer in Australia, we'll hopefully give away somewhere around $2 million to sick children, which makes it very rewarding and very satisfying. But to actually, and we've actually helped children. We've saved probably 50 lives already with Lifelight, who are a helicopter service to get people from the country to the city. That was going to fall apart. They needed $100,000 to keep the helicopters afloat. We get donated from the foundation $100,000 to them, and they've already told us it's saved 50 children's lives. So that, to me, is something that I want to have. I've spent a lot on the phone, computers, emails, speaking to the people at the foundation. In between games of cricket and travelling, it's been quite difficult and hard. So I'm looking forward to doing a lot more, walking into the office and help programming and help putting functions together. We only do 3 or 4 a year, and we try to do them well. And with the money that we raise, we then, as a board, distribute them to different children's charities. And there's so many good, worthwhile causes out there, it's hard to choose. So hopefully over time we'll get to all the children's charities. But we've made a difference in a lot of the charities so far, and hopefully that can continue.
Good on you. Now, finally, a couple of questions. I mean, a lot of people, when they talk about you, admit their admiration for you as a cricketer, but to say that perhaps he's not been the best role model of a sportsman. I read somewhere once where you said that you thought being a good mentor. What do you mean by that? I mean, do you first of all think that you've been a good role model, and secondly, good mentor, why?
Well, I know what it's like having a mentor. Terry Jenners to me is like a Dr. Phil. Sometimes I can ring him up and I'll do all the talking. He hasn't said one thing, and I'll hang the phone up and go, oh, how much better do I feel? He hasn't said one thing. So I think the mentoring thing, there hasn't been anything that I haven't been through as a sportsman, whether it be the highs, the lows, coming back from injury, off-field things where you've made mistakes, off-field things where everyone wants a piece of your time. With time management is one of the most important things. Sponsorship roles, charities, hospitals. There are so many things that comes with sportsmen or businessmen or everything. We have a responsibility to do our bit, I believe. I believe that we've had an opportunity to play at the highest level. The game's been great to me. It's been great to a lot of other people as well. We have to give back too. So I believe I can mentor sportsmen, not just cricketers. And that's one of the things that I'll look into, in the next coming months into retirement, about what I can and what people I do want to help and who wants help. Some people might want help from me. Fine, it's no skin off my nose. If you like me, great. If you don't, so be it. I am who I am.
A role model?
Role model in that, I think I have been. I think there's a lot of kids that would like to be like me. And hopefully a lot of them can not make the same mistakes I have, and so they can learn by me. And I think that's a good opportunity for people as well.
Well, it's been a trip, and it's been great watching it all, and been great talking to you tonight, Shane Warne.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you.